Hey, I'm Whitney.
I'm Taylor, and we're the Ghost Sisters.
Wow.
Wow. Yes. So, I don't have any business. We don't ever have
Yeah, I was
business.
like, I feel like you don't need to say we don't have any business because we never have business. It should really be like, hey,
We
we
don't
have
have business.
business,
Yeah,
and then we'll talk about that whenever we have business, but we do not. So
that's fair. That's fair. Well, then we'll just jump into today. Are you ready?
rumble. Okay. Mm.
No. Are you ready to go a little too close to home, Whitney?
I don't know in what way you mean. Like physically, like close to home, or like this is gonna like hit hard in the chest.
We we are going to look at 3 places that were influential in our childhoods.
Well, that's upsetting.
So we are going to start with Brownwood, Texas.
Hey.
Hey! So originally the plan was the entire episode was going to be on Brownwood, Texas, but there's only like 2 haunted things in Brownwood. We extended
Yeah,
it.
somehow it's worthy?
So, we're going to start with Brownwood, Texas, and we're going to take a dive into the 2 places that I found, and luckily one of them is Lake Brownwood.
Hey.
Hey! Geographic information, of course, it is part of Central Texas. It is part of the Texas Hill Country. It has a humid subtropical climate, which means that it has hot summers to mild to cool winters. For those of us who have ever been there, yes, we know that.
Is it humid? I feel like whenever we've gone, it was much drier than, you know, where we were actually at.
Humid subtropical has a little bit to do with moisture, but it has more to do with the temperature of the area. So it's just named humid subtropical because it's not considered arid.
Science with
So
Taylor.
yeah. So this is the county seat of Brown County, and it is 1,380 feet above sea level. So the
Okay.
current population is at an all-time low of 18,713 people. So
Wow. What was it like
yeah.
in its heyday? I feel like there's never anything going on. Like, it
No.
surprises me that there's almost 2,000 people.
20,000, you mean?
Oh, yes, 20,000. I for some reason, I thought you said, like, 1,800.
No.
So,
Yeah,
I was like,
18,000.
"Wow." Well, okay, well,
Yeah,
then I'm even more impressed. Way to go,
I
Brownwood.
know. So,
Congratulations.
apparently, its heyday, it was, like, in the 20,000s. So,
Oh,
it's
so
not too
not
low, but
much?
it's yeah, because I was like, "Oh, wow," I thought that that was the high point. So, Whitney and I, we grew up going to Brownwood, and
Mhm.
it has always been the smallest town. Another town that we're gonna talk about is even smaller, but that's okay. It's she's like, "What are we gonna talk about?" Uh
I'm trying to think of other small towns that we both know, and the only one that I can think of is me. Like, it involves me, but we'll get there, I guess. Oh,
It
what?
involves
Okay,
you.
apparently not. Alright. You said it had
No,
to do with, like,
no.
everything that hit close to home, so
Yeah. Yeah, it'll make sense in a minute. The history of Brownwood is kind of interesting. Of course, it is Native American land, and it was inhabited by the Lipan, the Apache, and the Comanche tribes, which we're going to get a little bit further into here in a little bit. And it was taken over by Spanish missionaries in the 18th century, and then officially settled by Europeans in the 19th century. So,
okay.
uh, they, of course, worked to push all of the Indian Native American population out into the reservations and that kind of thing.
What? No
Brownwood
way. That's
no.
crazy.
So, Brownwood was actually founded by a man named Captain Henry Stevenson Brown in 1857, named Brownwood because his last name was Brown. Brown County was also named after him.
But where did the wood come from?
Well, it's kinda like Ville, that they just add Ville to things
You're
to
like
make it a
Ville.
city. Your mom's like Ville.
Your ass.
Your mom's ass.
Your mom's
Okay.
asshole. Okay.
I hate that. Okay.
She's sitting there like,
So
"What the fuck?"
Come on, you guys. 19th century or late 19th century saw the railroads come in, which of course accelerated the growth of the town, and that make connections with major markets and good shipping. And then it became a cultural and agricultural hub, which or commercial and agricultural hub, which it's still considered that, but knowing Brownwood the way I know Brownwood doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, come again? Like, what?
Yeah.
They had a
Yeah.
Starbucks for a day, I think. Like, what do you mean you're what?
They
No.
just got they just got something other than Walmart out there. So,
Oh, it's
uh
CC's, right? They had CC's and then that went
yeah, they
away?
had a CC's, yeah, and they had a Planet Fitness. They were really doing good there for a minute.
Wow. Well, I mean, their numbers have dwindled, so
Yes, yeah, population has gone down by approximately 2,000. So,
not
cattle ranching
20,000.
not 20, yeah. Cattle ranching and cotton farming, of course, are the big ones out there, and throughout the 20th century, they see economic diversification where we started to include educational institutions such as Howard Payne University, manufacturing, and retail. And what?
Like, Howard Payne pulled up.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, this was a dream. Never mind. I don't know why I was
Okay.
thinking about it, and I was like, "I need to go to Brownwood and go to Howard Payne University," but for some reason, I thought about it more, and I was like, "No, that's over by Lubbock," but that was incorrect.
Oh, yeah, no.
I
Dad
don't
tried to get me to go live out in Brownwood and go to Howard Payne.
Same! He was like, "Oh my god, it's free." Like it's like,
Yes.
"No, I'm not going there, thank you."
Yeah, yeah. And then in World War II, it became home to Camp Bowie, not to be mistaken with the one in Fort Worth. It's a large military training camp which brought an influx of soldiers and economic activity. And right now, it is considered a regional center for educators, healthcare, and commerce.
What?
I really hope no one from Brownwood is listening to this and listening to us laughing about it, but in all fairness, we have been going to Brownwood since we were, what, like 10 and 8? Like, we've been
Ye
going for
it
a very long time.
Yeah, but also, like, what? I mean, if you guys
Yeah.
are from Brownwood and you are listening, I hope y'all are as shocked as we are. I mean, whenever we went, my biggest memory is being in Humphrey Pete's, which actually straddles the line between Brownwood and Early. Um,
Mhm.
and talking to someone, they were like, "Yeah, the biggest news that we had last week was a dude riding his tractor down Main Street." Like, this is the town we are talking about that somehow is
Yes.
the commercial hub and educational medical hub of Texas that people have not
Yeah.
fucking heard of. Okay.
So, again, it's mentioned this is has Brownwood maintains a small town charm while still being an important economic and cultural hub for Central Texas.
Can we stop using the word hub? Like, I need I need a different word, like a commercial and economic area. Like, it's not a
Area,
hub,
that's
it's an
yeah,
area. Like, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, DFW, those are hubs.
yeah.
This is an area.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be clear about that. I don't know what source you have, but it's
Like,
incorrect.
I feel like Stephenville is more of a hub than Brownwood, and even that, like, I don't know. But let's get into the different areas that we're gonna talk about. So, the first place that we're gonna talk about is Lake Brownwood, and we're going to talk about the Flat Rock Park part of Lake Brownwood. For context here, just so Whitney and our parents and people who have been where we're going know where we are. Where we used to visit Lake Brownwood was on the northeast side of the lake. This is on the
Okay.
south side of the lake.
Oh, okay, I was like, "Is this the park that we used to go to
No.
unsupervised?" Okay,
No.
okay,
So, geographic information for those who don't know where Lake Brownwood it is 8 miles north of Brownwood, Texas, and it has an approximate area coverage of about 7,300 acres, and it has a drainage area of 1,535 square miles. average depth of the lake is about 25 feet with a max depth of 95 feet. So it's a pretty deep lake, all things considered.
Most
The history,
mostly good. Good
what?
things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Native American, going into the history here, Native Americans, specifically the Lipan and the Eastern Apache, were the first groups in the area, but by the mid 1700s, the Comanches expanded their territory out towards Lake Brownwood because they became adept at horseback riding, and they basically just kicked all the other tribes out of the regions. This was great for, of course, hunting and irrigation and all that stuff. European settlers came in. Of course, Henry S. Brown was the first one to come into the area in 1828. They entered what is now named Brown County in pursuit of a Comanche raiding party that had come through and basically raided their camps and stuff. And whenever they went through, they were like, oh, this place is pretty nice. And 1852, so about 20 years after that, Captain Randolph B. Marcy led an expedition through the area and noted that Pecan Bayou, which was the precursor to Lake Brownwood, was a favorite spot of all of the Native American tribes.
Okay.
So they started coming in and they started to conflict basically with the Native American tribes that were in the area because, of course.
Sure.
And by the late 19th century, most of the Native American tribes have been forcibly removed from central Texas,
Mhm.
of course.
Of
So
course.
Lake Brownwood didn't actually become a concept until there was a devastating flood in 1900 where they basically decided that they needed to control the flooding of Pecan Bayou and Jim Ned Creek, which is a tributary to Pecan Bayou. So they began to construct a dam in 1920s and it was completed in 1933, and they were really worried initially that the lake was going to take forever to fill up because 73,000 acres is a lot. And they ended up not having to worry too much because in 1932 in July, there was a record-breaking flood which basically covered 7,000 acres almost overnight. So
Wow.
the lake filled up and it was immediately parts of the land were bought up by this Texas. Wow.
Texas. It's Texas, y'all. Oh, it takes us to over here and over there.
The Texas State Parks Board bought the land for Lake Brownwood State Park in 1934. What's really interesting is that all 538 acres were bought from Brown County Water Improvement District number 1 for $1.
Ah, how times have changed.
$1. Yes, for
I
538
I
acres.
love going back and looking at that kind of stuff, and it's like, "Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we bought this for, like, 25 cents," and we're like, "Okay, it's $3.5 million now, but
Yeah,
okay, that's
exactly. Yeah.
fine."
So, right after they bought that, well, I say right after, 1942 was whenever the development of the state park was finished, and now the lake itself is used for irrigation, but also for drinking water, which is concerning.
Oh, like,
I'm sure it goes
it's
through water
used yeah, I was
treatment, but
like, it's used for drinking water after it has been processed,
yes.
correct? Hopefully,
Yeah,
no
like,
one except for animals is going over there and being like, "Gulp, gulp."
I would anticipate, like, the water that we had at the lake was actually processed from the lake, which is
We can hope.
we used purified water, like, we went and bought water because we
Yeah,
were
we
not about
normally
to
had,
drink
like
it.
yeah, 'cause that's we would wash our dishes with the water, but we normally had bottles of water,
Yeah.
and even if we, like no, because we would, like, buy ice and everything too, like, we didn't
Yeah, we didn't really drink the water or
our water
anything.
was
The animals did.
processed elsewhere.
Yeah. I was gonna say the animals did, but no, we actually filled their stuff with purified water too.
No.
In addition to drinking water, it's used for recreation with water sports and outdoor activities.
If you guys are
So,
hearing some kind of weird whine happening, which I've been told whenever we say this, no one hears anything, but if you do, Sophie is very upset that she is in the room with me and she wants to leave, but she's also cold and she is shaking and she is whining. So
yeah,
she just needs to sit down
just
with
in
her little
case.
sweater and her blanket and be a little burrito,
Yeah.
but she is refusing. Anyways,
Yes. So, the haunting that is found in Lake Brownwood. So, this particular haunting is inherent to the entire lake, not necessarily one part of the lake. So, there is supposedly a girl that drowned in Pecan Bayou.
Okay.
And this is before Lake Brownwood was built, and this is legend. There is no official documentation of this,
When you say
but there
this is
has
before it was built, like, before the lake was filled in by this epic flood, or I mean, obviously, she
bef-
couldn't have drowned before the lake existed, but before, like, the community was created.
like before the lake itself became a concept. She drowned in the bayou.
Okay.
Yes. Again, this is legend. There's no official documentation, but people have had experiences, and I happen to find an experience that somebody wrote down. You can hear
S
a
How else would you have found it? What other did they come to you at a
Oh, yeah.
dream?
I don't know, yeah. I just I
No,
was
and I
excited to
have
find
an
just even one thing
experience
about this, so
that came to me while I was staring at the moon one night, and I said, "Oh, Brownwood, what's wrong with you?" And they said, "Well, I have been haunted for years." No, didn't happen?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, it
exactly.
was
That's
written
exactly
down.
what happened.
Got it.
The universe spoke to me.
Okay.
Okay, so apparently you at any point on the lake, you can hear a little girl's laugh at night. Some have seen a little girl running down a walkway and to a dock and then jumping off the dock and then there's no one there. There are also reports of swimmers, even strong swimmers, drowning in Lake Brownwood under very unusual circumstances. And this is where this story comes in.
So, wait, hold on, I have a question.
Yas, what's your question?
My question is,
Mhm.
whenever they see her, like, run and jump off of the pier, are there splashes?
No, it's just like she jumps off the pier and that's it.
Okay, that's I didn't know if they,
Yeah.
like, I hear a splash and, like, as she's jumping up, kind of like, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
also, I'm glad that we did not drown while we played in that lake, just saying.
I know. Yeah, and well, and that's thinking about this particular story, considering we used to go, like, tubing and stuff and out on the boat and stuff, like, it's yeah. So, this story comes from Bianca T. She changed her name for privacy, and I got it from backpackerverse.com. She was 13 years old and had been on a swim team since she was 10, and her family used to go camping at the lake all every year, in the summer and with RVs and tents and stuff like that. And she and her cousin Tommy decided to go swimming right after waking up because it was super hot that weekend. And so they went down to the lake on their own. And just like with us wandering around to the park by ourselves, their parents didn't really worry about them going off on their own. So they ran into the water, they dove down. She dove down to touch the bottom because it was like maybe 6 feet at that point, if she had to guess. And then she and Tommy started playing and they were splashing each other when all of a sudden he stops and he looks very intently at the water. And she asks him what the matter is. And he says that he thought he saw something really strange in the water. And she said, "Don't try to frighten me by telling me it's a bull shark because I know that's a load of crap." I'm guessing that there's some story behind that, but she didn't elaborate.
Okay.
So they both laughed because I was like, "That's a weird thing to state."
That was very specific, but alright.
Yes. Yes, so they both laughed, they started horsing around again. She said she looked over 5 minutes later, and Tommy is white as a sheet, and she asked what it was now, and she's getting kind of, like, irritated, and he said, "Something grabbed my foot," and she said, "I'm not as gullible as you think I am," and he said, "B, I'm being totally serious, something grabbed my," and as he said foot, something grabbed her around the ankle and dragged her under the water. And so she's turning around trying to see what's attacking her, and she comes face to face with a girl who looked to be about her age. Super pale, long black hair, and black eyes. No irises, no corneas, just black eyes, which immediately made me think
Black-eyed
black eyed
children.
children. Yeah, so she said the little girl smirked at her, and then that was whenever Bianca realized that she could actually die. And so she started fighting and kicking, and she managed to strike the girl in the jaw. And she kept doing that until the girl released her ankle to like hit her. And at that point, Tommy swam down and pushed his thumbs into the girl's eyes and pulled Bianca up to the surface.
Oh, that's some, like I feel like don't fuck with black-eyed children, but also, like,
Legit.
don't fuck with their black eyes. Like, I feel like you're
Yes.
gonna get some bad juju out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she said that, of course, whenever she told people, people told her she was crazy.
Well, yeah.
But she said they still go to Lake Brownwood every year, but they don't get in the water anymore. And I just think of the times that we were fishing and the times that we were out on the boat and swimming and, tubing, and I was like, "Dear God, if we ever," especially back when I had a phobia of that kind of stuff, like, ooh.
I
So,
remember, like, when we would go tubing, it
mhm.
made me super nervous, like, having my feet in the water and stuff because I was like, "I don't know where the bottom is. I don't know if
Yeah.
something's gonna touch me, like, would it be seaweed? Would it be a fish? I don't know. Like, what if something grabs
Mhm.
me?" Like, I had that thought, but I just thought I was crazy.
No, so that's actually really interesting. I wonder if you had some kind of intuitive moment because we were maybe like what 9 and 11 whenever we were doing that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and you were still pretty open, like, psychically, to
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So maybe you were sensing the thing. But
But she was like, "Don't fuck with Whitney. I know you don't fuck with
maybe
black-eyed children, but don't fuck with Whitney." Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Black-eyed children are scared of me. Knock on wood.
Okay.
Somebody knock on wood. I don't want anything to happen. Like, "Oh, fuck. Don't
Here you go.
thank you. Don't come at me."
All right. So the other story that comes from Lake Brownwood is specific to Flat Rock Park. Uh, Basically, people that are trying to pull their boats out of the water either run into some electrical issues that the boat has never experienced before and never experiences again, like they cannot get their boat out of or into the water,
Mhm.
or they find damage as though they hit a large rock when there are no large rocks on that side of the lake. So they start wondering, where did I hit a rock? And there is none.
It's a
So,
human!
oh God, yeah. So that is the only two things that I found about Lake Brownwood and Flat Rock Point. The other place that I found is an area known as Keys Crossing, and it is slightly to the south of Brownwood. It's still considered part of Brownwood, but it's kind of like how, what do I want to say, like at Katy, where Cinco Ranch is technically part of Katy, but they named it its own thing on the map,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So all of Houston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Keys Crossing is home to about 310 people. Very small, very small. And there is a legend of 3 ghosts that are thought to be Native American. They can be seen kneeling by the river at night, tossing roses into the water, and they're thought to be mourning the loss of a family member. So, multiple people have seen this, and they said that if they linger in the area, the figures will stand up, look at them, and then vanish.
Let it linger.
And
So,
then
my question then is
mhm.
I have a lot of questions about ghosts. So, if they're throwing the roses into the water and they vanish, do the roses vanish?
I don't know. It didn't say anything about it.
Because
My
that
guess
would
is that
be
the people reported this were so freaked out by 3 people vanishing in front of them that they didn't think to go look at the water.
oh, I would. I would be like, "What the
I
fuck?"
would,
And then
yeah.
I would go in and I would investigate, and then if there were
Mhm.
flowers in the water, I would be like, "Oh, fucking shit. That
Haha,
was
yeah.
real," and they straight up vanished, and then I would shit myself, and then I would leave.
Yes.
That's right, it would be my shit floating in the river with the roses. Just saying.
Yes. So the next one doesn't really make sense to me, but they say that there is a Native American curse that if you are driving too fast at night, it would result in the vehicle flipping exactly 3 times and then the occupants being severely injured or passing away. And they say that there are shadow figures that come out whenever the person is driving through, causes them to swerve and then flip the car. I don't know why Native Americans would be upset about you driving too fast,
Because it's
considering
their
car
land.
like
It's not
I
our
guess
land.
like It
from
doesn't it's just a
California
weird
to the New
it's a
York
weird thing
Islands.
to hmm. It's a weird thing to associate with Native American culture. So, yeah.
I mean, is it though? Because I'm thinking about whenever I was talking about, like, the killer cars and stuff, and there's
Mhm.
that one pass where you had to, like, "Hello" to whatever was there, or else it would kill you if you're, like,
Oh,
taking that
that's
corner
true.
and stuff. So, like, I mean, not
Yeah.
that that had anything to do, obviously, this was in England, so there weren't Native Americans, but Native people of some sort. So
Mhm.
maybe they just are like, "Can you just be respectful with your weird ass machine?"
Maybe
Like,
with your
fuck.
weird ass your mechanical horse.
I'm just assuming, like, if they are old spirits, they don't quite know what cars are, and so I would hope
Yeah.
that they would be like, "Whatever this monstrosity is, just slow
Mhm.
down, okay?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, those are the 2 areas that I found for Brownwood. I
okay.
fully expected Howard Payne University to have something. It doesn't.
I wouldn't
And
expect that.
it just universities always have some kind of weird stuff associated with them. And then there was also the Lyric Theater and the Indian Creek Cemetery and like another memorial. There was Brownwood Memorial Hospital that was reportedly haunted,
I was gonna
but
say,
I
are
couldn't
these just
find
like
anything on it.
okay, I was like, "Are these just honorable mentions?" Like,
Yeah, I mean, these were places that whenever I started looking, they seemed really promising, and then when I looked further, there was nothing on them.
okay.
So, if you're
Sure.
from Brownwood and you know stories about these places, hit me up because
And
I'm interested.
also, don't judge us for thinking that your town is teeny tiny.
Okay, so are you ready to travel a little further north, Whitney?
Sure? Sure, I don't
Because
what?
we're going to Lamesa, Texas.
Whoa. Wait, what? No, they can't be haunted. They are smaller. Do not tell me that their population size is somehow 20 fucking thousand. There's no goddamn
No.
way.
No,
Like,
it's not. So, for those of you who do not know what Lamesa, Texas is, it is a city or a city, it's a town 60 miles south of Lubbock, Texas,
and it
and it
is
is the
no
county
hub. If anyone says it's a fucking hub, they can go die in a hole, because what the fuck?
Oh my gosh. So, county seat for Dawson County, and it has a population as of 2024 of 8,676 people.
What? That's still
Yeah.
I expected, like 800. Like, I don't it's, like, literally their biggest what the fuck? My mind is blown. They don't even have they have a Sonic, they have a Dairy Queen, and a United. Guys, it's not even like an actual grocery store. Like, it's not like you're not gonna find Kroger, you're not gonna find Tom Thumb, you're not gonna find, like, HEB for those of you in Texas. No, 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 no. It's not even a Walmart. It's a United.
Yep. It's a United.
Like,
I love
I
how
can't.
that the
Ah,
the geographic and history is what's most mind-boggling to you.
'cause what the it's now I feel like you're gonna tell me, like, all the other places that we, like, have seen growing up and everything, like, what, Odessa?
Big
That's
Spring,
literally
Odessa,
just, like, a block
uh,
is gonna
right,
somehow have
yeah.
10,000 people and it's just one street
Yeah,
and somehow like, what?
yeah,
No.
yeah. Okay, so let's get into history. So pre-settlement, this was part of what's known as the Comanche Trail, which was used for hunting and travel by Native American tribes such as the Apache and who would have guessed the Comanche.
That is
Europeans
shocking news to me.
Shocking. The
Shocking.
Europeans started coming in. Spanish explorers came in the 16th and 17th century, but because it's so arid and there were hostile Native American tribes, they basically were like, "Nah, we gonna leave that alone." And
That's
so,
valid.
uh, so it really wasn't settled until the late 19th century due to cattle grazing and
Oh, I
agriculture.
was like, on
Uh,
accident? Like,
and the Homestead Act basically made it worth it to come out and do it.
okay.
Lamesa as a town was founded in the I wrote earthly, in the earthly 20th century.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Meh, meh.
As long as
Nine
it's not the Marsley, because like, that would be weird.
that would be weird. 1903, it became the county seat for the newly formed Dawson County. Lamesa, a lot of people have there's a joke that goes around Lamesa of how do you actually pronounce this? Is it or the husband and wife are in line at Dairy Queen, and one says it's pronounced Lamesa, the other says it's pronounced La Mesa, and then when they get to the window, they say, how do you pronounce the name of this place?" And the person at the drive-through goes, "Dairy Queen." So
Mhm.
I remember Mamie telling us that a lot.
That was
Um,
actually told at a bluegrass festival.
was that
Yes.
Bluegrass festival we went to? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so it was a bluegrass festival, and it was the man who was, doing the bluegrass festival who got on stage and was like, "Thank you guys so much for having me here in Lamesa." Lamesa? La Mesa? And then told that story of him and his wife,
Ah,
so
okay,
ah!
okay, yeah. Ah, so La Mesa is how it's actually pronounced, but it is a combination of the Spanish words la and mesa, which means the table, because it's fucking flat out there.
Flat, it's
So,
hot, it's dry, everything's dead.
everything brown. Yes.
There is no centerpiece on that table.
Nope. Mm-mm. It just
Mm-mm.
flat and brown.
It's
Yep.
just gross.
Railroad. Oh, here you go, Whitney. Railroad development in the early 1900s saw an increase in agriculture and trade, making it a regional hub.
Fuck that! It is not a hub. This is some bullshit. I need whoever is naming these things hubs to go back
Ooh.
to school. These places are not hubs. This is not, I need, what the fuck? No. This is some bullshit. This is like saying that a ghost town is a hub. It's got like population 10, which is what I expected Lamesa to have. But no, it's not a hub.
I'm gonna cry. Okay. Okay. So I'm glad that I found your trigger point here. So
I just
this
need people to not call things hubs whenever there's no one there. And no one's heard
okay.
of it.
Okay, so in the 20th century, it became primarily known for cotton farming, and it still is,
Sure,
and
of
we can
course.
attest to that
Yeah,
because
seen a
we
lot of
used to go
cotton.
out and yep.
Cotton peanuts.
Oil Cotton peanuts, yes. Oil was discovered in Dawson County in the mid 20th century, which brought some prosperity. And due to fluctuating agriculture and oil industries, La Mesa faces a lot of hardships, but it still remains a close knit agricultural community with a rich cultural heritage, such as the Chicken Fried Steak Festival that they hold annually.
I'm sorry. What?
Yes!
How
I was like,
how have
what?
we been involved with this fucking town for years, decades, and never heard of this? For some reason, our grandma would go and buy out the 99-cent corn dogs at Sonic, but never mention this fucking festival? Like, what?
Right? When I saw that, I was like, what the actual fuck, mammy?
Uh,
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Due to Lamesa being so small, I was actually really surprised to find something haunted there, and it's literally an elementary school. There isn't a lot of information.
okay.
What?
Just
It's like the one elementary school
it's just you
there.
the way that you said it's literally an elementary school, like we were joking about it maybe being an elementary school or something.
No.
You're like, "It literally is. I know we talked about it, never, but it literally is."
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, you
so
triggered my asthma
elementary.
cough.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
So, this is haunted by 2 ghost children, and one's a boy, one's a girl, and they're wearing Western style clothing from the late 19th to early 20th century.
Of course.
Of course, this was a period of significant settlement and development for all of West Texas,
Now I'm just thinking
and
of them wearing, like, little cowboy outfits
yeah,
and,
they
like, little
said, like,
cowgirl
little
outfits, but not I'm sure what they are meaning is, like, almost Little House on the Prairie kinda thing, like the bonnet and,
so
like, the dress. But I'm thinking of, like, the cute little adorable cowboy boots that you could buy now
yeah,
for children. That's what I'm thinking of, and I'm like, "Oh, they're cute
yeah.
little ghosts."
No, on the source that I looked at, they literally said Little House on the Prairie style clothing.
Okay.
So, good job. Good job, Whitney.
Yay! Yay, me knowing some
So
history fashion for some reason.
so they can be seen walking the halls, laughing and playing with each other. So they're not harmful or anything, but they freak out the kids. And then there's some
Fair.
other unexplained things that happened. They have the occurrences of unexplained objects moving, so possible poltergeist activity. And one time they had a very heavy lid fly off of a gumball jar and land across the room.
Why would that
So,
make it poltergeist activity? Can it not just be the kids being like, "Ha ha!"
well, typically the movement of objects in general is considered poltergeist activity.
I would think it would just be ghosty.
It's just ghosty.
It's just ghosty.
Just ghosty. So, that was our little foray into Lamesa, Texas. Are you ready to go a little farther north?
To what? To what? 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 Dim it?
We're going to no. Oh, I should do dim it. No.
Actually, you probably should
I
because
probably
Dim
should,
It
yeah.
has they've got that like POW like cell and
Yeah,
everything. And so I
yeah.
think they actually had like some more stuff. So you should check into Dim It.
Okay,
And if
that'll
they
be
have
my
a
next one.
population over 5,000, I'm gonna beat someone.
She gonna fucking riot. No, we are going to Bartlesville, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm not gonna be shocked
so
at this population, and I'm also okay if it's a hub. I have my
okay.
standards.
Okay. Okay. So, for those who don't know where Bartlesville, Oklahoma is, it's just south of the Oklahoma-Kansas border
Border.
border
Border.
and 47 miles north of Tulsa, Oklahoma. It is home to the Price Tower, which was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, and it's kind of their, they're very proud of that tower. And it has a population of 37,670 people.
Okay. That's actually
Okay.
less than I expected. Somehow, they
What?
are or Brownwood is somehow almost as big as them, and that is
Mhm.
gut-wrenching.
Yep. Okay. So, history wise, they are home to the Osage Nation, which is a rich hunting ground for the Osage tribe. And European American settlement really came with the establishment as a trading post by Jacob Bartles in 1875, who was a merchant and a postmaster. Of course, Bartlesville was named after him. And he married a woman of Cherokee descent, which helped him integrate better into the Native American communities. So
Mm.
he apparently used that to his advantage. Bartlesville became a thing in 1897 and immediately after they discovered oil. And
Wow.
that led to rapid economic transformation and growth. The very first commercial oil well was the Nellie Johnstone, which led to an oil boom, and that led to Frank Phillips, who established the Phillips Petroleum Company, which is now known as Phillips 66 in
Sadly,
Bartlesville.
my thought was and we all know who that is, but actually, no, no one does.
No.
Only if you are from Phillips or Bartlesville would you know who that is,
Mhm.
but okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So that has continued to help the town's prosperity and growth. 20th century, they had the Price Tower built, which of course Frank Lloyd Wright, and the oil industry still doing the thing. And right now, they're focusing more on community development, cultural enrichment, and preserving its historical heritage. And they host music festivals such as the OKM Music, or that used to be known as the Oklahoma Mozart Festival, which I
Oh,
didn't know
I
was a
didn't know.
thing either.
I'm less upset
So,
about not knowing about that than the fried chicken festival.
but chicken fried steak, like shit.
Yeah, yeah. That's like, what?
Yeah,
And it's probably
yeah.
what,
So,
uh now I'm trying to think of the main restaurant in Lamesa that probably is the one that puts it on.
oh, that steakhouse?
Yeah. It's not like
Yeah.
Bob's or something.
Oh, I forgot about Bob's.
Jim Bob's? Jimbo's? Jimbo's?
No, what was that place called? No, it was maybe it was Jim Bob's. I don't know. It was like a what you call it, a buffet kind of thing. or a
Yeah,
cafeteria style kinda thing.
I remember going for, like, events, and it didn't matter what kind of event, like, someone died, we went there. It was Christmas, we went there.
Mhm,
Easter, we
mhm.
went there. Yeah,
I think
because
it was
Lamesa's
Jim Bob's.
fancy.
Yeah, they I was gonna say they have an actual steakhouse now, but no, that's
No, it's
Bartlesville.
yeah,
That has an
Bartlesville
actual
has an actual
steakhouse.
steakhouse. Yeah. That's why I was saying I'm less
Yeah,
shocked
yeah, okay,
if Bartlesville is a hub, which it is. Yes.
yeah,
Continue.
yes.
Continue with your
So,
spooks.
we have 4 places. Okay,
Okay.
we got 4 places we're gonna talk about here. The
Okay.
first of which you and I have been to personally. It is Frank and Lola's. So, do you not remember
Oh,
going to
yeah.
Frank and
No, I've
Lola's?
heard about Frank and Lola's.
Yeah,
Like, I
it's
know
the
we've
the
been
mac
there,
and
but I've
cheese
heard about
place.
the yes, no, I know what it is.
Yes.
I've heard of the
You've heard about the
hauntings.
haunting.
Yeah.
Yes. Geographic information, it's on 200 East 2nd Street in the number 1 suite, I guess. And the history is it is established in the 1910 Buford and Son building in downtown Bartlesville. And according to the US National Parks National Register of Historic Places, it was part of Bartlesville's history for over a century. Of course, it was built in 1910. And the first floor was used as retail and office space, but the upper stories were used first as the Antlers Hotel from 1910 until 1919. Then it became the Congress Hotel until 1946. And then
Mhm.
1946 to 1972, it was the Hinkle Hotel. And then
Okay.
in 2008 was whenever Frank and Lola's was established.
Okay.
So, Frank and Lola's is supposedly haunted by a prostitute that was named Estelle. Now, I couldn't find information about when this particular area was run as a brothel, but it's reported that it was, and honestly, it was the Antlers, the Congress, and the Hinkle Hotel. There could have been kind of a backroom brothel kind of thing that was never officially recognized, kind of like a, I don't know, prostitution ring kind of thing.
I
But
would assume
she
so, because that's just
yeah,
how that time went.
right, yeah. So she was supposedly murdered by one of the Johns that she was engaging, and she can be seen and heard at all times on the property. So, that's it for the for Frank and Lola's, but apparently
Oh,
she's
okay.
pretty. Yeah, I was kinda surprised because they made such a big deal about it, but whenever I really started to dig into it, they were like, "This is all we know." I was
This
like,
is it.
"Oh." So,
Cool, bro.
the next 3 you have never heard of. This is this is actually one when I told mom and dad that I was doing Bartlesville, dad was like, "Oh, there used to be this place," which is known as either the Labadie or the Labadie Mansion, and I don't know which one it is. If you're from I should have texted dad and been like, "How do you fucking say this?" If you're from Bartlesville and
Spaghetti.
if you're from
Spaghetti.
Bartlesville and you know how to say it, please don't at me. I tried. Um, so this area is slightly north of Bartlesville. It's very rural, and the mansion itself is accessible via a hiking trail, and it's considered one of the most haunted locations in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So it was built in the late 19th century by the Labadie, I'm going to say Labadie because that just makes more sense to
It
me,
just makes me think
family.
of Porky Pig. Blah, 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 blah. That's
Labadie,
all,
Labadie.
folks. Yes.
So they lived there until 1935. The early 1900s for them was a time of tragedy, and there are 3 different stories that came out for the death of 2 people known as Frank Labadie and his wife Samantha Labadie. So,
Okay.
um, Frank and Samantha, the first one, there's a legend that says that Frank caught his wife Samantha having an affair with a servant named Enos Parsons. She got pregnant with him after having had years of trouble getting pregnant with Frank. So
Ooh.
Frank was pissed, went into a rage and shot and killed Parsons, waited until the baby was born, took the baby and threw it into a nearby creek,
Oh my
killing
god.
it. Yes, and then shot Samantha and then himself.
Oh my
So,
god. Like, what I do what
yeah,
what?
I That's an insane story, and even
That
then the
was
next one.
that's like 9 months in the making. Like,
Yes,
you just stewed on that for 9 months? Like, at that
right,
point, not that I condone murder whatsoever, but just shoot her.
right,
What, like,
yeah, why
don't
draw that out?
what the
Unless unless he was trying to, like, prove a point kind of
I'm
thing,
sure
like
he was, but it's dumb.
yeah, yeah, agreed. So, the second story is that Frank went mad and killed his whole family before he committed suicide by jumping out of the third-story attic window.
Okay.
Not quite as salacious and just kind of like, okay.
Okay.
So, the last and likely most probable way that they died, which is very not salacious at all, is that both of them died of carbon monoxide poisoning due to improperly ventilated stoves and fireplaces.
Okay, when was this
Yeah.
again?
This was back in the early 1900s.
Okay, so, like, we wouldn't have, like, autopsy records and bullshit?
No, mm-mm.
Okay, because 'cause I'm like, that's
It's a pretty
a
mundane way
pretty
to
easy
die.
way to figure
Yeah,
out which was true,
yeah.
but if we didn't do
So I'm
autopsies.
less less inclined on the very first, like, super crazy one because it's reported regardless of how they died the day after their 50th wedding anniversary, and they were found by their nephew who was coming to congratulate them. 50th wedding anniversary, I mean, there's possibility that they got married when they were, like, 10 because of the time, but you're still talking about possible 60-year-olds,
Yeah,
and
and
she's
back
popping out
then,
another baby?
I was gonna say in the 1900s, I think it was a
Yeah,
problem having a baby even at, like, 20. So,
yeah. So, yeah, I'm a little
yeah.
less I'm leaning more towards the carbon monoxide thing, but
Or it's the
it
1900s, it's just the old age of it. 1900s
yeah,
of it
that's
all, like,
true.
they just died.
Yeah, they just died. So, they and their children and several of their relatives are buried near the mansion in the family cemetery.
Okay.
And there are 2 fires that came through and destroyed the house. The only thing that's left is the stone outer structure and the fireplace. So, it's really eerie out there. It's all overgrown and abandoned, and yeah.
Okay.
So, the hauntings that they see here are the spirits of Frank and Enos. They see a baby and they hear the cries of a baby. Samantha has been seen walking the property to scare people off. They hear voices, footsteps, they can even hear gunshots sometimes. The fireplace will have smoke in it when there's no fire lit.
So now, like, I understand where they got the first thing from, the first
Yeah,
story, as far
the
as
baby
yeah,
and
yeah, like, you're hearing all this stuff,
yeah.
but at the same time, like, the 1900s, is it not possible that
Yeah.
a baby was just born and it died and, like, we just have residual gunfire for something? Or, like, maybe Frank and Enos were just pissed at each other and had a gunfight, like, we don't
Right.
okay.
Yeah, there's no and of course none of this was documented. So
Right, so that's
it's
why I'm
all
like, it
yeah.
could be people have created a story with what they've seen or
Yes.
heard, but
Yes. So people will also smell and see smoke and they see shadows move within the smoke, which could just be pareidolia because it's smoke.
also I don't like that,
What?
that you see figures in the
Yeah, I don't
smoke.
like that
I don't
either.
like
That's
it.
really horrifying. Um yeah. Yeah, that's not okay. Investigators have issues with electronics and flashlights acting erratically and then failing once they're on the property and like failing to the point that they can't get it back kind of thing.
Hmm,
Kind of like what happened in the cemetery with the
with your recorder,
recorders.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
weird.
and they both corrupted randomly. Yeah. So the next place is a place called Jesse Creek Cemetery. And I immediately had to go and be like, is this a cemetery that grandma's buried in? It's not.
Okay.
This is a cemetery that's a few miles south of Bartlesville, like maybe I'd say it's still part of Bartlesville, but it's on the southern side.
Mhm.
It dates back to the 19th century because, of course, early settlers were dying all over the place and they needed to be buried.
Mhm.
The tombstones are weathered and sometimes unreadable, but I found a website that people who have people buried in that cemetery can go and report their loved ones as buried. So
Huh,
they're getting a repository of the people that are buried in that cemetery in there now. And
cool,
I was
that's
like, that's
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's
the
still I'm
hauntings that
sure they still don't know who is who, but
yes.
at least you
Yeah,
know
like
that they're
there was one
there.
yeah, there was one that the last name was like Thompsonson or something like that, or Tompingson, and it had like the first two names, but then after that, they'd had no first names. It was like five Tompingsons that had no first
Huh,
name.
okay.
But the earliest grave that I saw on there was a child. He was like 3 years old that was born in 1857 and died in 1860.
Hmm, okay.
So old ass
Oh,
cemetery.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They, of course, the hauntings that you see, digital cameras malfunctioning, you'll see full body apparitions, shadow figures, floating orbs, rapid temperature changes, and touching, unseen touching. This is where I get like, "Ugh." They hear noises, voices, screams, cries, and growls.
Okay.
Ooh, I don't like it.
Ugh.
Yeah. And then the last place that we're going to talk about is the Dewey Hotel Museum. And Dewey is literally, it's basically part of Bartlesville. It's 5 miles
Okay.
north.
That's I was like, "Why does Dewey sound familiar?"
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was built by Jacob Bartles, and he founded Dewey and Bartlesville in 1899, and it opened in May. Oh, I'm sorry. The hotel itself was built by Jacob Bartles. He founded Dewey, he founded Bartlesville, and he started building it in 1899, opened it in May in 1900. It served as a social and business hub.
Hmm,
It was a symbol of prosperity and growth and was known for its Victorian architecture. The museum
okay.
has been the museum part of the hotel was created to preserve the building and the history of Dewey, kind of like that really old house in Dimmitt that they turned into a museum.
Right.
So, the hauntings that you get here are figures and apparitions, voices and footsteps, cold spots, feeling like you're being watched or you're not alone, objects moving on their own or being displaced, and they think there's a male presence that can be felt upstairs. It's thought to be Jacob Bartles himself, as the hotel was actually his
Oh,
home
oh,
for him and his wife, Nanny.
oh.
So, yeah. So I was like, well, shit, maybe we should go check this place out. And so
But
I
hello,
found
Dewey.
they have a ghost hunting team that, like, basically runs the tours there.
Okay.
It's $200 an hour with a 4-hour minimum,
Oh,
Whitney.
what? Then it's not $200 an hour then. It is
Yeah.
$800 and then
Yeah.
$200 an hour after that. Like, the you
Yeah.
call it what it is. Also, why
I
are you
was
so
like
special? You're fucking Dewey. God damn it.
I was like, the USS Lexington charges 75 bucks
Like,
for
you're not
it's
even
for an
it's
8-hour
and
investigation.
it's a ship. It's a full on it was an active ship. People
Yeah.
have heard of the USS Lexington. Nobody's heard of you, Dewey. Like, what the fuck? Like, what? Okay, so you didn't get me upset
Yeah.
about the hub, but you've got me upset about this bullshit. Like, come on.
I am glad. I'm glad that you're just as outraged as
Like,
I am. Like,
this is
I
ridiculous. It would be
was
like, oh my god, if for some reason, like Brownwood, if Howard Payne University was haunted and they were like,
Yeah.
just for that, your tuition is now going to be $100,000. What the fuck? No, it's not. You're
Yeah.
Howard Payne
Yeah.
University and no one has probably heard of you. Or if you have heard of them, way to go. But you've not heard of Brownwood. So stop it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So so that wraps up our part 1, I guess, of our Too Close to Home series where we investigate look into the different places that Whitney and I grew up. So,
It's upsetting.
yeah. I know, you were
Oddly,
outraged through most of this.
yeah, I was gonna say, oddly, the upsetting part has nothing to do with the hauntings. It has to
Except for
do
the
with
last one.
ec well, yeah, except for but that still isn't even the
It's
hauntings.
more
That's the
monetary. Yeah.
yes, that is the organization that is running that bullshit because fuck you
Yeah.
guys. And then people need to learn what the
So,
word hub, like like
me too.
like, I
Yeah.
don't
I just
if no one has
every time I
heard
type that
no. If no one has heard of your town, like, literally, I've told people, "Hey, I'm going to Bartlesville." or something like that. One of my bosses was like, "Hey, Whitney, you can't just make up cities." And I was like, "I am not making up a city. Thanks, Chris." So if people think that I am
Fantastic.
making up cities like Lamesa or Bartlesville, then you can't be a fucking hub. You can't.
Right.
Now, I understand if you are a hub in the 1900s because nothing else fucking existed, but you are not a hub
But not
now
now. Yeah, not now.
or even in the
Yeah.
more modern century. Like, no, you are not.
Mhm.
Mm-mm. Okay. That's the end of my
Okay.
soapbox. I'm gonna
Okay. So, if y'all really wanna like, send us some cash so we can go to the Dewey Hotel because apparently it's gonna cost us $1,000,
Yeah, and by
um,
some cash,
we'll
she
do it.
means $1,000.
Yeah.
I
Don't
don't
just send me $5, that's not gonna work.
no, I was like, "We need to be specific here." Like, I can only afford barely the extra hour, okay? So, like,
Can't
I
even
need
afford
help.
that.
No, I can't afford any of that. So, if y'all wanna hear more about Dewey and their bullshit, someone needs to send us some money, please.
Yep.
Money,
So,
please. Yeah.
money please. So, if you live in any of these places and you want to fill in some gaps that I may have hit, then or if you know of another place that would be interesting,
Or
hit
if
me up
we have
and
offended you in some way, shape, or form, uh,
if we have offended you in some way, shape, or form, please remember that we have been going to these places for 20 plus years. So we have the right to have an opinion on them.
exactly. It's not like we just
Yeah.
picked a dot on the map and are upset
Yes.
about it being called a hub.
We're about to get her going. So we hope you keep listening.
We will spook you later, bitches.
Spooky later, bitches.
Sorry, that bitches was very hard, and it was not directed at
It
you
was.
guys at all.
No, it was directed at the
It was
hubs.
directed at Dewey. Okay, I gotta go.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.